So, Mark, the April visitor stats are in, and instead of blockbuster month after blockbuster month, we're finally flatlining. What do you say? Is the doom times ahead?
I'm actually kind of happy about this because it's just been going to the stratosphere and prices have been crazy. So hopefully this gets it back to the norm a bit. You know, they're flat, so it's not like it, and that's coming off of all-time highs. So it's not like it's that we're going to see great prices going forward, but at least maybe we should see something, maybe better marketing. I know we're talking about Downtown Grand later, which has a great promo, and I feel like that is kind of, showing because of the numbers and everything, and hopefully we see more like it.
Yeah, I mean, the average daily rate only down 3% from the record highs, as you said. So I wouldn't say that this is a disaster, but I have heard anecdotally Vegas has slowed down a little bit. Domestic travel seems to be slowing. Airfares are coming down. People are going to Europe and elsewhere, but maybe it'll be a little bit more affordable later this year for everybody who wants to come.
I hope so. Hope so. Come on, give me a cheaper flight. I want to rebook my $700 flight. This is nuts.
Mark, Resorts World is almost 2 years old, and when they opened, they promised that they were going to expand in several ways. New towers, possibly, maybe even a water park on that dirt lot that they have. But that steel frame of the convention center has always been an expansion. It dates back to the Echelon Place days, the original frame of that building, and now they've announced they're finally going to build the convention center, 370,000 square feet, because there isn't enough convention space on that north area of the Strip.
I mean, and conventions are dead. So we hear. But no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense with them being right by the convention center. They'll have a lot of overflow, people hosting things there while there's big conventions going on. So I'm surprised they didn't do it a little bit sooner. Maybe they're waiting to see how everything played out with the new grand opening and everything. Now, I should say the water park, I really hope that happens. I think that'd be really cool. This was something that we had kicked around in show notes over the last couple of weeks of like an old school amusement park that used to be in Vegas. It kind of blows my mind that there's nothing there really of that, caliber going on, water park or regular amusement park, with, how Vegas is all about rides and stuff like that and over the topness. You think it'd be the perfect place for it besides, melting in the heat in the summer.
Agreed. I mean, you do have the Adventure Dome. The old MGM Grand Adventures was great back in the day. And we do have the two water parks, the Cowabunga water parks, that are more in local areas. But you definitely would think that there would be a market for tourists, to the old Wet n Wild did so well just south of Sahara there. So it would be great. So hopefully they do that. But it's good to see that they're doing this. And obviously this is Fontainebleau is coming. I think this is a response to that. Fontainebleau is going to have a ton of convention space. They're focusing on that heavily and, located right across from the convention center, both these hotels. So clearly they're going to be competing for that business.
Yeah, plus they got loop stops, so they're all good.
So we talked about the flatlining of numbers, and Downtown Grand this week, they announced a number of specials designed for locals, for everybody else, saying basically it's to fight inflation. No resort fee for locals, free parking for hotel guests and dining customers, $5 craps with 10 times odds, $1 blackjack, $2 Nathan's Famous Hot Dog, and PBR. I know that's exciting for you. A lot of specials coming there, and it's good to see they're trying to attract people.
PBR, no thanks. But no, I mean, this is good to see. We've talked about going after the locals, something Mirage has tried to do or is going to be doing. And this is another thing. And it's just great, it throwback to what Fremont Street and downtown used to be. And I love Circa, but I feel like Circa kind of killed that a little bit, bringing the high end in, and then everybody was just doing a money grab, adding all this high end bars, carousel bars, stuff like that. Where this is, back to the glory days, for me at least, of downtown, cheap beers, cheap tables. Gold Spike used to be that right there, which they got rid of the casino and everything. So this kind of fills that void, and Downtown Grand is very nice inside. I've never been to the pool area, but it looks amazing. It's something I definitely want to check out one of these days.
Yeah, the pool area, the rooftop pool there is really cool. And this is a place I think that struggles to draw people in the off times. So this is clearly in response to that. The Triple George Grill, which is very well reviewed, has a 3-course $20 lunch that they're launching as part of this as well. So a very interesting mix of stuff for locals, stuff for other people, good meals, and then that PBR special. So yeah, it's an interesting mix of stuff, but hopefully it draws people down there. Speaking of downtown, Circa is getting the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. I think it's opening in August in the sportsbook area, so they're building a new space for this. And, sports betting, 10, 20 years ago wasn't a huge deal, but it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger as it's become legal pretty much all around the country. And I feel like this is a smart move by them. Get this thing established, and I think sports betting is only going to get bigger as a market, and more people will want to flock to this Hall of Fame. So it's an interesting, quirky little Hall of Fame, I suppose, but Circa should be the center of it, right? It's the best sports book in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense why Circa would do it. I feel like we're kind of, jumping the shark on Hall of Fames. Like, do we have a Hall of Fame for, like, everything these days? Like, do we have a taco eating Hall of Fame? I mean, does anybody even know a lot of
We need one. We need a taco Hall of Fame. Come on, Mark.
But, like, most people, of course, certain people, like, Casino Lefty, people know him, stuff like that. Mattress Mac will probably end up in there at some point. So, there's a couple people, but once you get past, like, 10 people, do you know anybody? It's like the World Series of Poker, I get that's on TV, people watch, they see familiar faces, where this is like, sports betting is kind of done like on the dark side, underneath the table, behind closed doors a lot. A lot of people don't promote it. Besides like Mayweather and stuff, what big sports bettors do you know about? And so, I don't know. Maybe it will grow into something. I just feel like it's kind of a weird thing.
Maybe Derek Stevens is building it just to put himself in the Hall of Fame for building Circa. There you go.
I love how they said there's 10 people to vote people into the Hall of Fame, and all of those 10 people will likely end up in it. Oh, okay.
Exactly. So there you go. There's your answer as to why it exists, just to put themselves in the Hall of Fame. Now, staying on sports, we talked about the rumor that Tom Brady may be buying a piece of the Raiders. And then, strangely enough, TMZ came out with a rumor saying that perhaps because the Raiders starting quarterback Garoppolo is going to be injured, he's not going to be starting the season, that Tom Brady could be an owner/player. And I don't know if there's any real basis for this. I tried to kind of dig into it. I didn't see anything that was really confirmed. And the NFL owners would have to vote not only to allow him to buy a piece of the Raiders, which seems very likely, but then also to allow him to play while owning a piece of the Raiders, which I don't think the owners would vote against that. I mean, Tom Brady in the league is a good thing, although he did sincerely say he was retired. So, he going back on it a second time, that might upset his fans a little bit.
Yeah, and, going back to sports betting, what's the last coach/manager/player that we've seen, which would be similar to, what was it, Pete Rose? Like, and he was betting on games, so... maybe not the best draw, but we could see maybe Brady will be like the offensive coordinator, the owner, and the quarterback. That would be interesting. If anybody's going to try to do it, it's him. You got to stroke that ego somehow.
And the kicker, right? He should just start kicking field goals, too. He can do
well,
it
Doug
all.
Flutie did it, drop kick, boom, Canadian football.
There you go.
Who had Canadian football on their MGM Vegas bingo card? There you go. Have a drink.
That's worth at least 2 shots of PBR on the set. All right. So a few months ago, or I don't know, a year ago, a while ago, the Artisan, which had been closed, it was announced it was going to turn into Lexi, which was going to be the first cannabis-friendly hotel. And this is just off Sahara, just off the 15 freeway, not far from like the Adventure Dome, the backside of Circus. It was the Artisan for a long time, and the Artisan was really interesting. I stayed there back in 2008, and it had a lot of like old school art, very dark, always very adult-oriented. And it's the only hotel I've ever stayed at where they had like multiple channels of adult entertainment that was just included. Like, you didn't have to buy anything. You would just flip through the channels. There's CNN, there's adult stuff. So it's always had that sort of adult vibe. This is going to be a 21 and over property, and they're not allowed to allow people to smoke in the public areas because of the laws around it, but people will be able to smoke in their rooms, or at least a subset of their rooms. They have special ventilation as well. It looks very nice. Outside of all of that stuff, it looks very nice. It's going to have to be nice to draw people into that area because it's just a very weird location.
Isn't this the place that used to be known for like swingers or something back in the day, that they would always stay there and have parties or whatever? Am I thinking of the right place? I think so,
yeah. I think that goes with what was on the TV, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird that they wouldn't get like a lounge, cannabis lounge, set up before ahead of time, get the permits for that so that people could do it. Nobody wants to just go in their room and smoke. They want to do it in a social environment, and that's what this could offer and be unique. Like, you stay there, you're just hanging out with all like-minded people, and you're going in the lounge, you're like having a drink, smoking, whatever. So hopefully they get to that, because I don't know that it'll be super successful until they get that in place. So we'll have to see how that plays out. They're filling a niche, so good for them.
Yeah, I think the lounge thing is kind of new anyway, and so the licensing is still going through with that, so that's why they're not licensed yet, but I expect that they will be. But yeah, for people who are looking for that, it's become a big part of tourism in Las Vegas. So this is the place to go. And it's definitely an improvement in the look of the Artisan. The Artisan looked kind of interesting for being mid 2000s, but it was very dark, and this seems like they lightened it up a little bit. Rooms aren't huge, but if you don't mind that and you're looking for this, it's an okay location. You need a car, and I guess you could walk across the street to Palace Station, but other than that, you're going to have to pretty much drive anywhere you want to go. But wishing them the best, and I think, based on the videos I saw, the renovations look good.
For some reason, I feel like this air filtration system is just going to be that 7-Eleven incense used to buy that was like gold. The gold packages all smelled the same, like sandalwood incense burning in your room.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear people report back. I think they have like 66 rooms there, and only like 21 of them are going to be allowed for smoking. So they're still going to keep 2/3 of their rooms.
Good
basically.
Luck. That's what they think.
Yeah, exactly. When they've already told people that. So Vegas Confessions Pod, he put an interesting tweet out. Somebody won an $83,000 jackpot downtown at Golden Nugget and tipped $400. And tipping is always an interesting topic to talk about on this channel because tipping is so important to Las Vegas culture. So many people rely on it. And there's always a great debate to be had, especially about jackpots and how much you should tip. Obviously, people, I think, know, you got to tip your cocktail server. But when it comes to like winning a jackpot, there's people very split. Like they're saying, I'm gambling my money, I'm risking my money, and I win. Why should I have to tip people? I don't agree with that. I think it's just been a norm to tip in Las Vegas, especially on jackpots for a long time. So I think if you win, you should give a generous tip. But I guess, you played table games a lot more. In the past, I played slots a lot more. What do you think is a good tip? I mean, people were fighting in the comments on this Twitter thread. Everybody from saying they don't tip anything to other people saying $400 was fine. Others saying they should tip thousands on an $83,000 jackpot.
Yeah, I've never hit a big jackpot, so I don't know, and I was curious to see what people would say, and a lot of people were like, oh, you're supposed to do 1% or 0.5% or whatever. 1% is, $830, $400, 0.5% is like right there, so it wasn't that far off for the shaming. It's not like they tip zero, so I'd say 400 is not great, but at least it's something. I don't know, I'd probably throw like $1,000. I don't even know if that's like acceptable, and I'd probably throw, the players at the table a few $100 each that are sitting there because, them playing helped your cards get this, whatever it was, straight flush, royal flush type of thing. And then they also have to sit there while they do the payout. So, it's a burden to them. The person dealing cards is still getting paid while these people are just sitting there watching you in jealousy. So I'd probably throw them a little bit of money type of thing. But I don't know. I mean, do people have to give $5,000 to not get shamed on Twitter? I don't know where the line is, but I would say like $1,000, $1,500 tops. I don't know.
That sounds about right to me. I don't want us to get flamed for this, so we're actually putting it out there. Let people comment in the comments. Let us know what you think is appropriate on a big jackpot. I know you're a very generous tipper. I've watched you at the tables, and you're constantly tipping on smaller stuff. And, and that's, I think, as important as the discussion here is people should be tipping all along, when they're winning. But some people, they are losing over time. I just think you got to sort of build it into your cost with gambling, just like a free drink is not a free drink. You have to tip the cocktail server. You have to tip your dealers as you go along. I think that's just part of the built-in expense. But I'd love to hear what people say and what they would tip on an $83,000 jackpot. Let's be a little nicer than the people on Twitter because there were some ugly battles going on. I was tagged in that tweet, so I saw all the notifications, people going all around about it. There are people from other countries who aren't accustomed to tipping, and I think this is a huge issue in Las Vegas. People come here and they're not accustomed to tipping. And, I've said this before, I think it's gotten a little crazy with tipping culture just in general in the U.S., but when it's part of our culture to tip, then you should tip, and that's it. And when I go to another country and it's not, I still tip sometimes, it depends on what I'm getting, but, I do wish everything was baked in, but it's not. So I think it's important if you're traveling from another country to Las Vegas or to the U.S. that you follow the tipping standards, that you understand that that's sort of part of the cost, even if it's not built in. And a lot of other countries, they just bake it all in. So this is an interesting one. I'm a little afraid as to what's going to happen in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is in Europe, in the past I've been in casinos and they'll like ask you directly for a tip. Like if you get blackjack, they're like, totes for the crew. Like they demand it almost, which is a little bit weird. they don't ask for much, they don't expect much, but I just always thought that was strange. And then the other thing we don't see a part of this is, what's the dealer like? Is the dealer really, have they been mean and kind of angry and not a fun experience for that player? Like, if the dealer's not enjoying, being there with you and not involving you and joking and having a good time, if they're just like flopping down cards, I'm not going to tip them the full 1,000. If a dealer's been really cool and been cheering me on and having a good time, then I'm probably going to tip them closer to 1,500. It all depends on, that's part of the equation that we don't see. So just walking by a table, that dealer could have been yelling at him like 5 minutes ago. You don't know. So, maybe that's just what they deserve. So, and it stinks that they all split it anyway. So even if you give 1,500, that dealer's probably going to only get like 100 of it, less than that. So who knows? That's why I like casinos like Old Hooters, Oyo, and Ellis Island stuff, where the dealers keep their own tips. I feel like it gives a better experience. I wish more people would do that at the casinos. I think that's the best way to do it, to get good service and to reward them directly for what they give you.
Yeah, because if they're not splitting the tips, then they're able to offer better service, and they're really working for the tips that they get. And if they're getting a whole big tip, they get to keep it. I feel like it's more motivation. But I'm loving to hear from everybody out there. I know there's people that work in the industry. Share what your thoughts are on this. Share what your norms are, so we can get that information out there to people. We love to support the people who work in Las Vegas, and we want people to get tips, because that is the way it all works. That's what makes the city run, and that's just the way it is. So MGM released a new filming policy for their table games. And as far as I know, I guess this was a memo that went out to employees, so I don't know if this is something that they wanted officially publicly out there. But I actually like this. They actually go through and say what you can and can't do at table games. You may text if it doesn't hold up the game. Talk briefly on the phone if you're not playing the round in progress, which that could be a little iffy, but people taking quick phone calls. Take pictures of the hand for personal reasons, it says. You can't leave an object on the table. That's long been a rule. You can't carry on long phone conversations, take pictures of gaming equipment or, the dealer and things like that. You can't film or stream unless it's approved, but you can get approval for that apparently. So they put all this out there. It's good for people, not only influencers, but I feel like more and more normal people are streaming and sharing their gaming experiences with others.
They've always been over the top on this. I don't think it was ever about like cheating. Like, what are you going to gain from filming cards being dealt? Maybe you catch a tell from the dealer. I don't know, but it was more about like privacy. I feel like they don't want other people in your picture if they don't want to be in it. So I always felt like you should be able to do it if it's focused on the table, on your game. Like, if you get a big win, you want to take a picture of it, and sometimes they'd yell at you, sometimes they'd pretend like they didn't see. So it's good to see it like in writing, what you can do, what you can't do, and hopefully the employees, I'm sure it'll take time for them to get used to the new rules, but I think that's cool. Like, if you just hit this $83,000 jackpot, you want to take pictures of it, you want to take selfies in front of it. Like, that's part of the fun of it, and to share it. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you want your big check and you're grumpy like the old guy in those pictures we've showed, and you just want to hide in the corner so nobody chases you down. But I think that this is a good move, and I think it's something that we'll see more and more throughout the different casinos.
I will say one thing: if you tip your dealer well, they're probably more likely to ignore any of the rules that you're breaking as far as taking pictures and stuff like that. If you're cheap with them, they're probably likely to enforce this to a strict level.
Yeah, because I've done that before. I've asked in the past, and they're like, "It's better to ask forgiveness than permission. Just do it quick."
That's my policy. Ask for forgiveness and play dumb. Although I don't film specific things, I have filmed slot play, which generally has been allowed if you're filming your own slot play. I have filmed POVs walking through casinos. Obviously, I use them on this channel, but I'm not in there trying to film table games usually and specific other people playing and things like that. I think all influencers, right, people who film in casinos, we're walking a fine line with that. I always try to be respectful of the rules and know what they are. And obviously, if I'm asked not to film, I stop. But yeah, I mean, the Pahrump video, people can go back and look at that, how quickly I got kicked out of casino in Pahrump, got yelled at by Bob, my good old friend Bob over there in Pahrump at the Pahrump Nugget. So, it's always a very interesting thing. But I think casinos really need to adapt. This is 2023. People are filming. People are taking pictures. It really isn't affecting their operations in any way. They can have specific rules to, if they think there's a method that's cheating that is allowed by this, that they can kind of crack down on that, but they should just leave the rest of people alone And just understand, if you're in a public place, you're probably going to get filmed. You know, I know people want their privacy, but that's not the case here in 2023 anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think they just need to go with that. And it's not like it hasn't helped them. I mean, how many slot channels and stuff do people go to a specific casino because their favorite slot player goes there, or goes to a specific machine because they've seen it, you know, hit and stuff like that. So I think this has helped them, and they're slow to realize that, but I think they're starting to pick up on it, and this is just kind of the way it's going into the future.
So a lot to discuss down in the comments this week. Let us know on the tipping, on this filming policy. Would you like to see more casinos come out with robust filming policies so you know what you can and can't do, and can't share? Tom Brady and the Raiders, Downtown Grand Specials. Let's discuss it down in the comments. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in just a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good weekend. Enjoy those cheap hot dogs and not the PBR. I totally lost you. You're just frozen. Can't hear anything. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, it was you like just froze and then no sound.
So Mark, Resorts World promised when they opened that they would be expanding
At the convention center, when they have the after parties or whatever, the little individually. Uh-oh.
Sorry, start the Resorts World thing over. Hopefully
We're at 18 minutes and running. We're
right.
just gonna have like a lot of me sitting here at it, like when I'm pulling stuff out of drawers and stuff.